Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to be talking about Horizon Zero Dawn, which is going to be launching on August 7th. Definitely didn't just Google that right there. Totally took it right off the top of the brain. I was pretty sure it was August 7th, but I did need to Google it in my mind. So yeah, next Friday, Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to the PC. Today we're going to be talking about the system requirements, whether or not you'll be able to run the game, and also something that I had referenced in a video earlier on in the month where we can get a look at some of the graphics options and stuff. So for maybe people that didn't catch that, I'm going to go over that again. But first, we're going to get fired into those system requirements and talk about whether or not your PC will be able to run Horizon Zero Dawn. Did you just finish building a sweet gaming rig only to have this happen to you? Not to worry, because your CD Key has you covered with Windows 10 Pro licenses for under $18. And if you head over there right now, you could save 20% off with my code JPD20 at checkout. You'll receive your key within seconds, and then just click the start button and type activate to find the Windows activation screen, and all you got to do then is paste your code in. For more info as well as that coupon code, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. So these are pretty much everywhere right now. These were published, looks like probably last night or late yesterday. That's why it wasn't in yesterday's video. Otherwise, I would have covered it. But yeah, the system requirements are now out there, but I am sourcing this from over on PC Gamer, where we've got the minimum and the recommended requirements, as typically they don't really say what these are targeting, although some developers have been getting better about this in recent years, maybe telling you what these, what you can expect to get performance-wise out of a setup like these, but not really the case here, although typically in the past, this is something I've talked about, is that at least for recommended requirements, they are typically targeting 1080p high settings, and also I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the graphics options for Horizon Zero Dawn and a benchmark that they actually showed in their PC trailer, and we can get a good idea of what they are very likely are targeting with the recommended requirements. But we'll start off with the minimum requirements, or as PC Gamer and only PC Gamer is calling this. Is not like official thing from Horizon Zero Dawn or developers or anything like that. They're just trying to be a little cheeky over on the PC Gamer. They're calling them the Minimasaur requirements, and then for recommended, they called them the Recommenderaptor, which is, I'll give them that one. That's pretty punny. But for the Minimasaur or minimum requirements, Windows 10 64-bit, as you would expect, for the Intel CPU, an i5-2500K or an AMD FX 6300, along with 8 gigabytes of system memory. For the graphics, an NVIDIA GTX 780 or an Radeon R9 294 gigabyte card. DirectX 12 is going to be the API for this game, and you're going to need 100 gigabytes of available storage, so clear out some hard drive space. This is going to be another big one. And just quickly, that GTX 780, man, I remember when that was a high-end card. I had two of those bad boys in Sly, and now we're seeing that on the minimum requirements, and whoa, like that's, I mean, it's not a high-end card, nowadays by any means, but I remember when it was, and to see that on the minimum requirements just like kind of blows my mind a little bit. So yeah, those are the minimum requirements. Again, what they're targeting, really hard to say. Probably 1080p, 30 frames per second, maybe at like medium settings, something along those lines. When it comes to the recommended or the Recommenderaptor requirements, again, Windows 10 64-bit. For the CPU, for Intel, they're saying an i7-4770K or the Ryzen 5 1500X. So they're recommending at least a quad-core onto this game with hyper-threading, along with 16 gigabytes of system memory, so pretty hefty, but not outside the realm of what we've seen with a lot of titles over the past couple of years. For graphics, they say a GTX 1066 gigabyte or the Radeon RX 588 gigabyte card, and those cards are pretty much matched neck and neck. I've done countless videos testing those cards side by side in a few years back when they were kind of like the most popular cards out there, and they really still are some of the most popular cards out there, I'm sure, on Steam hardware surveys, as not everyone's upgraded to RTX cards and stuff like that. Those cards are still very popular with 1080p gamers. You can find them really cheap nowadays. And, that's probably why they chose to use them in testing for something like the recommended requirements. And the benchmark that they actually even showed briefly in the PC trailer was running on an RX 580. So it would make sense they are optimizing for that level of GPU and 1080p high settings, or what they called in the game, I believe it's like the the original settings or something like that, which is basically like how it looked on console. And then again, on the recommended for storage, 100 gigabytes of available space. So it doesn't appear like there's going to be any high-res texture pack or anything like that that would maybe make the install bigger for high-end systems that wanted to utilize that stuff. When it comes to this version of the game, they are doing some things, obviously, to make it, more for the PC, ultra-wide support, uncapped frame rates, 4K support, all of that stuff. Hopefully the ultra-wide support is proper ultra-wide support. We're not getting like pillar box cutscenes or anything along those lines. They did say that there would be some control customization for mouse and keyboard. So, we'll have to wait and see when the game comes out next Friday how well it runs, or plays, I should say, rather, on the mouse and keyboard, or if this is something that you would want to use a controller for. Honestly, since there's, it seems to be like a fair amount of aiming and stuff with the bow and arrow, I'm really hoping that the mouse and keyboard support is up to scratch and plays really well on mouse and keyboard. That would be my hope, but if that's not the case, then I guess I'll probably reach for the controller if it doesn't really play particularly well, but fingers crossed on that one. They also did say they're going to have FOV support up to 100, so that's the maximum you'll be able to raise the field of view up to, and there's going to be various different anti-aliasing and anisotropic filtering options. Quickly going to go into my video editor here where I have that PC trailer, because there were some things I wanted to show you. Again, like they said, ultra-wide support for this game, unlocked frame rates, all that stuff. As I said, dynamic foliage, so I guess that's going to be an upgrade over what was in the console version, but then the graphics customizations. This is, kind of the stuff I wanted to look at a little bit here that I've showed in a video, like at the beginning of the month. I talked about this, but since we're talking about the requirements here, there was a couple things I wanted to mention. Again, ultra wide, so you can see they're running 3440 by 1440 in this trailer, at least for this screenshot here. FOV actually shows up to 120. PC Gamer had mentioned it only went up to 100. Now I'm just noticing this. So I guess it looks like it would go up to 120 unless something has changed that PC Gamer now knows about. This trailer, this was an earlier build. Maybe they cut it back to 100 for whatever reason. Not too sure on that. I didn't notice that before starting to record this video. It looks like you can disable, frame rate cap. If you want uncapped frame rates, you can, but you can also set it. It looks like up to 120, at least on the monitor that they were playing on, which was probably a 120 hertz ultra-wide display. Render scaling is also something really nice to have, especially if you're going to be playing higher resolution, so you don't have to drop down the resolution necessarily, and you could just do the render scale, which is kind of the same thing, but it can be a little bit more fine-tuned typically, and I do enjoy seeing that. There is also a decent amount of graphics options in this and presets as well. You can see right here they're on Favor Performance, which would be the lower preset, but then they also have Original, which is, I believe this is, this is the preset that they ran the benchmark on in this video with an RX 580, and I believe this is kind of like targeting what they had on the console. This is basically the console settings. Would be my best guess here. And then after Original, they have Favor Quality, which is everything up on high, and then Ultimate Quality. So, it could be a case that the recommended requirements are targeting the high settings on Favor Quality, or it could be on Original. Again, we'll go over to improved reflections, a couple more things here, controller options, all that stuff. But I'm trying to get to the benchmark portion of this. There is a benchmark, so here it is. There's a benchmarking tool built in. You can see right here they show ultimate quality, but in the next screenshot that they show after the benchmark runs is that they were not actually running on the ultimate quality set. You can see they're running on the RX 580 at 1080p, and then the preset they were on for this was the original preset. So that was the medium settings, and that was averaging 61 FPS on the RX 580. So it would seem that maybe even at high settings, you would probably be dropping down a fair bit below that. So when you ask the question, can you run this game, it's going to depend on, obviously, your resolution, what graphics settings you're going to want to play at, but it appears that the RX 580 on medium is averaging 61 frames per second on the built-in benchmark, and this is along with the Ryzen 5 1500X quad-core processor, which is ripped straight from the recommended requirements. This is what was on their recommended requirements. That's what they use for the benchmark. 16 gigabytes of system memory, Windows 10 Pro. This is the recommended requirements, and this is what they are hitting. 1080p, medium settings, average of 61 frames per second, and you can expect to see some drops below that. If this line here is like basically 60, there's definitely some parts in there where it kind of drops below, but also other parts where it does go above that. So it doesn't appear that they were actually targeting 1080p high settings for this, but rather 1080p medium settings. So there's a fair amount we can learn here from looking at these requirements, and also that trailer, which came out, I believe, at the beginning of July or the end of June. So yeah, can you run it? It's, I said, based on that, hopefully you got enough information out of this video on what you could expect to run this game at. The RX 580 is typically a smidgen faster than the GTX 1060, but they are pretty close. So it looks like if you're running a card at that level, 1080p medium settings might be really what you're going to be playing this game at. And if you're wanting to push resolution, graphic settings, and stuff a little bit further, then you're going to be required to have a little bit more of a beefy system. Hopefully my 2080 Ti can handle it at 4K. Maybe you have to drop the resolution scale slider. We'll have to just wait and see once the game does finally come out next Friday, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and learned what you needed to from this video. I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow for another one. Ta-ra.